Starting from the top, that is actually going to be our main feature, and it's going to be Gavin up against Percy Fang, Orzhov Demons versus Mono Red Aggro. Jim, we're gonna go through all these matchup and kind of talk about them. What do you like here between the number 1 seed, number 8 seed? Remember, the Swiss, rankings going into this, that does dictate who's going first and second.
I know we had a lot of Roots excitement here, but for me, Gavin's deck might be the deck of the tournament.
It looks sweet.
It's a really, really innovative take on the Demons archetype. Cutting some Sacred Cows, don't Deep Cavern Bats, playing this kind of weird Cruel Claws heist instead, but has plans across the board, where ready to do the thing. I'm going to discard your stuff. I'm going to kill your things. I'm going to play a big idiot. I'm going to kill you with it. That lines up pretty well into Mono Red. Kill a bunch of things. Play with creatures that gain life, Shieldred, Archfiend kills quickly. So looking pretty good for Gavin. And also important to note that a higher seed is always on the play.
Yes.
So very, very important against Red. So we got Demons on the play here. I think Gavin's a favorite.
You think Gavin's going to be favored for that one? Interesting. Okay, so we got Julian versus Connor. I would say, out of all our players, I see 2 big standout all-star names that have, been a Pro Tour mainstay at times, or just phenomenal players with Chris and Connor. And honestly, I'm gonna go with both Connors. They're both great. Connor Mullally is someone we know as far as events goes, dominates other circuits, as well as made it to the Pro Tour plenty of times. Connor McKenzie, more the up-and-comer, but he plays really phenomenal Magic as well. So next, we got our 4 and 5 seed. Is it Prowess Mirror? Who do you like there? Is that just whoever's on the play that you're going to give an advantage to, or?
One of the issues with the Prowess Mirror is breaking serve is tough.
It is.
It is very tough.
These decks don't block very well.
Yeah, people are trying a variety of different things. So it's cutting Suspirit, tearing them into pieces on camera, playing bounce packages, all variety of things. But when it comes down to it, it's still just pretty hard to break serve. So Julian will have the edge here. I actually ran to Connor. Talked to him yesterday when he was like 4-0, and saw him earlier. He's like, well, you didn't put me on camera yesterday, but I forced your hand.
Yes.
Now you got to put me on camera at some point. And I love the saying, be so good they can't ignore you. Connor exemplifying that this weekend.
Very true, but he is in an Is It Prowess Mirror, so believe it or not, he didn't make it to camera here in the top 8. So he's gotta earn it. One more time. He's got to win one more match, and then you best believe, no matter what, Connor's on the broadcast. Then looking to our bottom half of the bracket, we have John Schindeldecker up against Jerry Gao. Mono Red on the play versus John's Orzhov Pixie deck on the draw. Who do you like there?
So it looks similar to our 1-8 matchup, right? It's an Orzhov deck versus a Mono Red deck, but 2 key differences, of course, one being Jerry's in the play. So Mono being on the play or draw is a huge difference. And also, the Pixie deck is a little more suited towards beating the Prowess deck in particular. Where Temporary Lockdown is, of course, it's good against Mono Red. It's not incredible. It doesn't, knock out every threat, So I think that Red being on the play here, and then, the Pixie deck being a little less tailored towards Red, going to be a little closer.
Okay.
I'm going to give it to the Red deck on the play.
Okay. I think that is very reasonable as well. Screaming Nemesis. I'm thinking that Sunspine links out of the board seems really great against John as well. So that could easily go Jerry's way for sure. And then our last match, we have Chris Patello, our number 2 seed, playing Azorius Control up against Connor McKenzie, playing Is It Prowess. Now, this will be our backup match. I think this is going to be an incredible one to watch as well. Who do you got there? 2
great players. Chris 2 seed here, not the 1 seed, but paced the field for most of the tournament.
Yeah.
And Chris's deck is phenomenal. The Azorius Control deck, we saw Chris absolutely dismantle Is It on camera earlier. And the matchup looks good. Chris is on the play. I think this is Chris's tournament right now. Chris, I'm all about Chris here.
I'm definitely going for Chris there as well. And I think, those players are both phenomenal. But that's what Chris came to beat. Was on the play. He's only lost once, 12-1-2, shook hands that last round and had an unintentional draw the day before. So that is our bracket. Now let's start looking at the specific decks that we have for the rest of the top 8. Let's start with our match that we're about to see. This is going to be Gavin up against Percy. Let's take a look at these deck lists and really break it down. Gavin, the number 1 seed, we love the innovative take. We think Gavin is favored in this match, but I will say another deck that I think is very favored against Is It Prowess, as the way that that's set up, Burst Lightning, the removal spell of choice, doesn't kill anything. Mono red, a little different. You know, there are some other removal spells that we'll see in a second that can actually deal with some of these bigger creatures.
Yeah, I think on the whole, though, there are just so many big threats here. And this deck list is great. You know, I really, Mono Black Demons has been kind of like a quiet dark horse for the last few weeks. Has had a pretty good win rate, and this is taking a lot of the things that deck does well, but adding in the versatility of these white cards, a little more flexible, a little more, a wider net on their removal spells as far as what you can hit. A lot of innovation here, like we were saying, with Cruel Claw's Heist. This list looks great, and, this is an innovative take on this deck list.
Yep.
And for me, like I was saying, deck of the tournament, I think Gavin's got a great shot here.
Yep, I would have to agree. I think this deck looks awesome. Excited to see where it goes. I mean, just the fact that we have 4 Cruel Claw Heists instead of the bats. Like, I love that, change. That is a very clear, conscious choice that, bats just aren't good right now. So says Gavin, with this deck building. So will be interesting to check that out. Let's look at Gavin's opponent. This is our number 8 seed that snuck in on Breakers. And let me tell you, I was right next to Jesse and the other competitors when they were announcing it. And believe it or not, Perry was pretty excited.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know.
Was it?
Crazy.
Wow. Yeah. The best part of the tournament is when the top 8 announcement goes. The players at first, they know they're in top 8.
Yeah.
But when you get down to that 7 and that 8, quite exciting. But yeah, so we've seen these main deck Magebane Lizards be excellent against Is It All Tournament. This is the big innovation for these red decks. Not going to be nearly as good here, so a bit of disadvantage. Like you were saying, though, Witchstalker's Frenzy, 4 copies, That's a lot of copies of Witchstalker Frenzy. Usually we see like 2 or 3 in the main deck, but they will serve Perry well here against these larger creatures.
Yeah, I truly think this match could go either way. Like, I love Gavin's deck paired up against these other Is It decks, especially being on the play, but the Lizards, bad against Gavin. The Witchstalker Frenzy's good. So you get a little bit of a trade-off with these main decks. And then, Twisted Fealty threatens pretty good against 6/6s, right?
It's not
Last
bad.
time we checked.
And then the one real wrinkle here, you look at innovation in the deck list, the things you gain.
Yeah.
You do lose things too. All right.
Sure.
So adding white to the mana base, it's not free, there's painlands and stuff. But the other real caveat here is Sunspine Links.
Yeah.
Where Sunspine Links it's okay against the black decks. It tags you for a few points, stops life gain. Against this Orzhov deck, it's going to be doing most of the damage you're going to want to do against all of their lands. So a lot of links is good against their removal spells and stopping life gain. Could be a key card.
We'll see if Sunspine Links can do the heavy lifting when your spine is made of the sun. So sounds like our players are ready to go, though. Let's head on down to the feature match and see who advances to the top 4. Okay, top 8 Magic time. I am so excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have Gavin on the play up against Percy Fang on the draw. We've seen a lot of Percy. Maybe not as much of Gavin as well. Gavin's just been absolutely crushing it. And we've seen Percy do quite well as well. Sneaking in on 8th. Shadowy Backstreet to start. Likes the card on top. A Mountain. I was going to say Hired Claw. We've seen Percy, cast so many Hired Claws so far. But here we go, just like we saw last round. Swift Sphere is the first card we see. This one's just not ripped in half.
I do like the irony of Percy's sleeves being Orzhov themed.
Yeah. Do you think that's on purpose to get in your opponent's head until you show them your deck list anyways?
I think it's more so trying to get into Gavin's head and be like, I am the Orzhov master.
I'm
sure Percy re-sleeves each round based on the opponent's deck.
Really?
Really get it to him, yeah.
Wow. You have so much extra time when you're playing mono red. You're either winning or losing pretty quickly, so it checks out.
Got to use it somewhere.
Yeah. Person needs a sleeve sponsorship, then I'll tell you that. if you're using up that much. Here is the hand. We have Nemesis Burst Lightning, 2 utility land, as well as the Witchstalker's Frenzy. I know what I'm taking almost assuredly, depending on what the cards in my hand are. Screaming Nemesis seems like a slam dunk, right?
Yeah, it depends on Gavin's hand. If there's like a large creature to protect and a kill spell for the Nemesis, Nemesis is not as good against these decks that can kill it directly. One of the cool things here, though, is if this is a Deep Cavern bat, you're almost priced into taking Burst Lightning.
Yeah, you have to.
Whereas because it is a Cruel Claw's Heist, the option is here to take anything that you want. So protect a large creature or stay alive, take Nemesis, and take the threat. Both are valid options, but very much indicative of what Gavin has in hand.
That was easy for you to say.
I know, right?
So my question with this Cruel Claws heist, how often do you think Gavin has actually gifted a card? You know, like probably not much, maybe against Control, I don't know.
I would say very matchup dependent.
Okay.
Against Control, against Domain, you know, matchups where they have cards that are like really big hits, you know, casting a Shiko, casting an Overlord, that's well worth it. But giving your opponent a card is a major, major cost. So I would be very surprised to see that in these low-to-the-ground matchups.
But you're also always giving your opponent a card even in Domain and stuff. Like, I would not be shocked if Gavin, you know, I'm going to go ask him after this. I would not be shocked if Gavin says, yeah, I've never gifted a card with that. Are you crazy?
I agree. I think that the gift in that card is a bit overrated. This is more of a distress than anything else.
Yeah. Now, gift and fish, sure. Gift a card, that's a whole different thing. All right, so Monstrous Rage was the card drawn. And now with that village being the Ode the Other Land, the Burst Lightning that we know about in hand is not castable.
Yeah, and we see kind of the awkwardness of Rage in the matchup, like we were saying earlier about boarding it out, you know.
Yeah.
You just kind of a lava spike, and then your creature gets killed, and not quite the, you know, the powerhouse we're used to.
Yep, absolutely. And here is the powerhouse we're used to, though. Emberheart Challenger enters the fray. And, I mean, hey, if this card can live and you can start gaining some value off the village, I mean, that's exactly how Percy can take over this game. 3 mana from Gavin. That looks like a Preacher to me. Roadblock number 1 for now, but there are answers in Percy's hand already.
Yeah, leaving the engine intact, which is pretty important. You know, the village plus the Challenger, a way to get those cards back.
Here is Swift Spear, attack for 2. I know what costs 2. Frenzy to deal with the Preacher here.
All right, so there's the, you know, the not taking the Frenzy earlier. The first big creature is dead.
Yep.
But there are plenty more follow-ups in Gavin's deck. Would not be surprised to see a 6/6 next turn or Shieldred. Something of a large variety.
Yep, absolutely. And Gavin's going to need it because we are down to a low amount of life. Burst Lightning still in hand for Percy that we know about. Let's see what the play is. Big turn here from Gavin. 5 mana, could just be a 6/6 demon. Would that even be enough? So far, this Frenzy looked amazing. Something to kill a creature with 4 toughness. I bet Gavin hasn't had his Preachers and Shieldreds killed, you know, much this tournament at all.
Yeah, and that's metagaming in action, you know. Oh, these big black creatures are good against the red decks.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know, it's good against large black creatures. Witchstalker's Frenzy. You know, of course, the 6/6s throw a wrench in that.
Yeah.
They do dodge that. So we see a demon here, but now Gavin's low enough where maybe Percy can just sneak it through and get it done.
I think this is the turn for Percy. So right now, Gavin is at an effective 4 because you have Burst Lightning to go to the face. The Challenger gets blocked. So Percy needs more to push through.
Also important to know, only 1 red mana that can cast spells, not creatures.
Yep. I mean, the Rockfall Village, Soulstone Sanctuary, you know, they have a real cost. And it looks like we might be starting by getting ourselves a fresh card off the top. That'll make that 3 power. Manifold Mouth is probably not what we wanted to see.
Big sigh of relief from Gavin there.
Yeah.
You could see him step in the chair a little bit like, okay.
Yeah.
That's a big step.
And now if the turn is past the turn, I think this game is basically over. Because you can't attack as it stands right now. Okay, so there was a mountain. Okay. So here is Manifold Mouse. Manifold Mouse can give this double strike force. I guess it's not forced.
Yeah.
You could take 6, block the Swift Spear if they both get in there, and then start gaining life off the Unholy Annex. Do you block if this 6-power Challenger gets in?
It's extremely contextual to the cards remaining in Gavin's hand, I think.
Yeah.
It feels like it might need to happen, though, because obviously you're saving yourself the life, but now you're stopping the engine as well. You know, with a Village in play and a Manifold Mouse in play, Challenger is a card that really needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
It's kind of an ugly way to deal with it. You know, we do have the extra point of power for the Village, so this is a 3/2 double striker. So offering a trade, and Gavin has to decide if this demon is going to get frisky or Gavin's going to go to 1.
Yeah, and it looks like there's 1 card in hand from Percy, and we know it's Burst Lightning from that early heist. And we take the damage, or we don't take the damage, excuse me, And now you don't really want to just unlock Unholy Annex with no plan. And you got 2 decent creatures, and your opponent might deal you 4 with a kick Burst Lightning. So by no means does Gavin have this board under control yet.
Certainly up against it.
Yep. Duress takes that Burst Lightning. Nothing in hand, Hellbent. And now, do you animate the Swift Spear or the Soulstone Sanctuary? I mean, if you're not doing that, you know, maybe the 3 damage just doesn't matter, or Gavin maybe has another piece of interaction.
So Gavin proposing an interesting conundrum for Percy. I didn't activate my Soulstone Sanctuary attack for 3. It looks like that's what's going on here for a block.
Yeah.
Do I have a spell? Do I have an activation?
Okay, well, we're going to find out, because this Manifold Mouse can give the Soulstone Sanctuary double strike. And that would be a force block if we attack with everything. So if that's the case, and Percy can just turn all 3 of these creatures sideways, like, you know, not the Soulstone Sanctuary technically since it has Vigilance, but you just have to block with Gavin's Sanctuary and take 2, right?
Yeah, I mean,
no other option.
All the 2 get through, down to 5, and if there isn't an interaction point here already in hand, and it has to just be the block, top of the deck's going to have to be really friendly.
Yep. Okay, so now if Gavin does have a removal spell for the Sanctuary, that would be ideal, so you don't have to chump away your land, and that looks like what we do have.
All right.
Soulstone Sanctuary may just be a land, but it still has a throat when it is summoned, and it gets destroyed. Big draw step from Gavin. We're hellbent. It's not a great sign for Gavin if that's the only thing you got. It's not the worst, but...
Yeah. With the Village, the Manifold Mouse getting double strike is pretty threatening.
Yeah,
you know?
It trades with the Sanctuary. But it's not lethal. You could take 4.
A lot of pressure too, of course, you know, unlocking this Unholy Annex and trying to get some more cards and some life.
Yep.
The land is a demon, but you put yourself in a spot where if the land dies, you're in a whole world of hurt.
So if that is a land that we top deck, one play that Gavin would have available is animate the Soulstone Sanctuary, attack for 3, second main phase, annex, go up to 7, hope he's not dead. Dead to so many top decks, of course, but it is a line. If it's a concealed courtyard, you just get to cry and be like, come on.
Yeah, it's not the worst, you know, as far as taking a step towards winning the game. You know, getting the annex rolling, game of life, drawing the cards.
This looks like what we might be doing. Yep.
All right.
Oh, no. Did we not attack? Oh.
Pressure at top 8.
All right. It's minor, of course. Might not matter at all, but it has Vigilance. Heartfire Hero, give it haste.
Hello.
Oh, the game 1 handshake. Denied by Percy. No, I'm just kidding. He probably didn't deny it, but he said good game. And I don't know if there was much that could have done. Even if Gavin has, you know, perfect information that that's the card that's going to be on top, and Gavin decides to just Soulstone Sanctuary as a blocker, does anything even get better with that Heartfire Hero getting double strike? Like, not really, right?
I like the play.
I like it too.
You know, and the thing is that
besides the not attack, you might as well get in your 3 damage.
For sure. But yeah, you ask your opponent to brick for 1 turn. And then not only is Gavin going to untap, but it's a card from the Annex and a card for turn. So now it's 2 more cards. And then if there's a removal spell or a good blocker there, and one more thing to get going, because now the land can block also. That's a huge swing, and again, you're really, really behind. So I like the play. Didn't work out. Doesn't mean it was wrong.
Play to win. Don't play to lose. So from Percy's side, what are we sideboarding in against this Orzhov Demon deck?
So yeah, like his Links is a lot. Links coming in. Mage Melis is going to go out of the main deck, of course. And then Case of Crimson Pulse is pretty sweet. You know, in a grindy matchup where you are, you know, you're going to be losing cards to your removal spells, to discard spells. The case is, it is removable because they are, Gavin is playing white, you know, which most of the black decks aren't doing, but I think it's a solid one to bring in. And we can cut some of these small ball removal spells that just don't really have targets, you know?
Yep.
You can kick a Burst Lightning to kill a Preacher or something like that, but that is
it's pretty slow.
Not an avenue you really want to go down here. Yeah. So I think we can lean pretty hard on the Witchstalker Frenzies, bring in some of the bigger cards, and try and get it done.
So if you were playing in this event and you just had a bad experience with the deck that you had, and you see one of these really sweet decks that you want to play from now on, Jim, like what can you do to turn that cardboard into different cardboard?
Throw it in the garbage.
Okay, perfect. Next question. All right.
If you're someone with has a little more value oriented,
or a little more sanity.
Yeah. You could sell it.
Yeah, I think you should.
StarCityGames.com is all ready to buy them from you, and of course you can get some cash. That's great, but you're going to buy some more Magic cards. You got to replace the deck you just threw in the garbage. So hop on over to StarCityGames.com where you can sell your cards. Also in person, walk it right up to the booth, sell your cards there. And if you take a store credit option, you get a little markup there on your money for cash you're going to spend in the future anyway. And the next time you're on the website or at the booth, you say, hey, put it on my tab. I'll buy that Ragavan, and I don't know what the second card is actually, but I'll buy that one too. Just buy all the cards. Put it on my tab.
I don't know. I'm not sure of that one either. But yeah, buy that Ragavan for sure. Or if you've been following Jim Davis around during his career and you found a deck in the trash and you want to sell that too, come on down to sellyourcards.starcitygames.com. If someone threw it away, Jim's trash could be your treasures.
Well played. Well played.
All right. I don't think we talked about it. Gavin, any other kind of changes that you're really looking to make, or is it just everything that kind of gains life, everything that kills creatures?
I mean, most is Beza. You know, nothing else here stands out. I mean, Pest Control is like kind of interesting. It's mono red, but there really aren't enough ones to want to lean that hard on that kind of effect.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in a spot where you feel inclined to cut down their Heartfire hero, and they play a 2-drop. And a 3-drop, and you draw Pest Control. Yeah. Don't want to be there. So, for the most part, I think Gavin's pretty well set up. That game didn't quite go Gavin's way, unfortunately, but the tools are definitely there. And, it's mostly Beza and ready to rock and roll.
So, Jim, let me ask you a kind of a strategy-style question. You've been in these type of top 8s plenty of times. You went in as the number 1 seed. You went in as the A seed. Is there anything that, mentally – any hurdles that you have to face as you're the number 1 seed and the world's coming against you, or are you relaxed as the 8 seed? You feel more free? Is there any of that kind of stuff that comes into play when it comes to these kind of dynamics?
It's almost the opposite, where you come in as the 8 seed, you played your last round.
Yeah.
You're coming in with momentum. You're coming in hot. I mean, most of the time. I guess you could have lost. It doesn't really make sense to have drawn. So most of the time, you're coming in hot. Yeah. You just won a big match.
Or you just snuck in on breakers. One of the two. Yeah.
But you have to wait to do that most of the time. So you're coming in hot. You're coming in ready to play, and there's a power to that. You know, if you just won a match, you're feeling good. You're ready to rock and roll. You are in battle mode. Yeah. Whereas Gavin took the draw in, had about an hour to kind of walk around, maybe get some food, talk to a lot of people. Kind of, potentially mentally get out of the tournament. Yeah. And the danger is that, when you locked up top 8, you feel like you're accomplished. You did it. You kind of dust your hands off and say, I did it. Yeah. And that's a dangerous thing to say if you want to win the tournament.
100%.
So, for some people, that hour is a good break. For some people, it's too much of a decompression, and you want to kind of keep yourself hot. See in sports a lot, right, where you have like this team that makes it in the wild card. They played the last game, they snuck in, and they play the 1 seed who's been resting players for the last 2 weeks, and they're cold. Yeah. They're not
that
ready to play.
That whole first quarter. Yeah.
Right, for sure. So, like you said quarter, I'm thinking period. But that's okay either way. It's a very common thing in sports. So, a bit of a mental test for both players. And Gavin's got some work to do here. Yeah, makes sense. Hey, the last RC we went to, you took me to a Minnesota Wild game, and I got to see in-person live playoff hockey. And, I wasn't necessarily a hockey fan beforehand. I am now. That was a lot of fun. So, yeah, really cool stuff. Percy also did win last round against this Zachary Keeney guy and made it in by winning Game 3 up against that Azorius Omniscience list of an established, amazing player in the form of Zachary Keeney. So condolences to Zach, but man, yeah, you got to be feeling good if you just take down arguably one of the best players in the room. Yeah, nothing like it. Yeah. Playing for top 8, winning that big match, like it's, that's the kind of match you sit down for and you're like, whew. Okay. You don't say that, but mentally you're like, wow, all right, I have quite a hill to climb. I have to beat a phenomenal player. I'm in a pressure spot, and you win it, you know, that feels good. I don't know what else to say. It's awesome.
Yep, absolutely. Nothing better. And then Percy by no means was locked, you know, because when you win a match, when you win that last match before top 8, versus if you lose that last match before top 8, your breakers usually go down a little bit. Versus, you know, we saw Jesse in 10th place there, lost that last heartbreaker. Breakers usually go up. So even if your numbers are close or it looks like you're in the top 8, you never feel good if you won that last one because you know your numbers are going to drop a little bit to a lot. You know, it can be a small amount or it can be significant. So Percy was pretty jacked to be able to sneak in on breakers here.
Pretty exhilarating.
Yeah.
You win, you put it in Fate's hands, and then you gotta just kind of, all right, here we go. You know, a little bit of a die roll there, and you know, Percy did what he had to do, got out into top 8.
You got any sweet stories where you made it in on 8th on breakers?
I'm sure. I have a 9th story.
Yeah.
So Grand Prix Columbus, I think it was like Legacy, like a million years ago. Was playing Goblins, and they decided when they posted they had like a projector showing the top 8. They decided to put all 8 players, and then losing the tiebreak lottery, Jim Davis in 9th. Like, guys, why did we need to put that on there? You know, thanks. I was like the one player who was X2-1 who didn't make it or whatever.
Yeah.
I actually played the match of my life to win the last round.
Yeah.
I played against a landstill player, and I made them crack their own standstill. I played out of my mind. I won this incredible match, and I came in 9th.
Let's see if we got standstill available. Can we throw up that absolutely horrible card? That's a really brutal one, that's for sure. I think the only regret from that tournament, you know, I don't know if we had if that event had coverage or not, but oh, there it is. I wish we would have got an immediate interview with you right after you took 9th as well. You know, that's what we really want to hear. That was a card that no one loved except the people playing Standstill, huh?
I think it's sweet.
Yeah.
I think it's sweet because I made my opponent crack it.
Yeah.
We played a game where it's not a lock, you know, and like I have my Rashad ports and my Wastelands and stuff, and I was able to force my opponent to break their own standstill and played a really good match. And
wow.
I didn't feel that bad, honestly. I was obviously sad I didn't make it, but winning that match was a real high.
Yeah.
I knew I did what I had to do, put myself in the best spot. Just didn't work out.
Just didn't work out. That happens, that's for sure. All right, Gavin is on a mulligan here. So, man, the #1 seed, just thinking, all right, I got a decent matchup. I'm on the play. Lost game 1. Now I'm mulliganing on the play. Like, how did I get here type thing. Shadowy Backstreet putting a land to the yard. And let's see what Percy has. We got a Hired Claw. We got a Swift Spear. The Claw.
Great one drop.
Yep. All right, just a pass there from Gavin. You were going to see a lot of that from Gavin's deck. There's hand disruption for the first 2 turns. Otherwise, Gavin does not play to the board on turns 1 or 2. He just does not, based on his deck. Post-board, things can change a little bit, but you have plenty of removal there from Gavin. So here is Hired Claw #2. And is this Monstrous Rage to counter it?
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Gavin could have did this during his turn.
Yeah, I honestly felt there was a second cut down there. Gavin kind of feigned immediately. It must have been more shock than anything else.
Even if there was a second cut down, you don't want to be – I mean, it's still a 2 for 2, right? But
agree. But
I did not like that, Jim.
Yeah. You know, the whole instance at sorcery speed, instance at instant speed, instance at sorcery speed thing.
Yikes.
Yeah, and this is now a major problem.
I mean, when Monstrous Rage gets the improvement already and it just countered a cut down. Oh, but Legion to Ash.
I'm going to slow you down here. It's not Maelstrom Pulse.
Oh, okay. You knew me.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm happy to. Yeah, I got Corey. It gets everyone the first time. So this card destroys a permanent and then all tokens with the same name. So it does work against Manifold Mouse.
Sure.
Yeah. So I've been on stream 100 times. So I'm like, oh no, my stuff. Oh, yeah, it's okay.
It's only one. All right. That could have been an absolute blowout. But, I mean, just think if, you know, Gavin cut down on his turn, got that claw out of there. Was that 6 more life? Legion to Ash, the other claw, whatever. Gavin's at 14, and he's got to beat this one giant mouse. So, yeah, that could definitely be a spot where Gavin looks back and would love to have that one back. Here's the Peacekeeper, and Percy's hand, still pretty good, Jim.
That is a good hand, yeah.
It's a pretty good one.
So the Sunspine Link's looking terrifying here, but we see Emberheart Challenger alongside the Village. That's the 1-2 punch that kind of gets these red decks through the mid-game.
Yeah.
And this is a very difficult decision. I think that the Links costing 6 seems more appealing than the Challenger costing 4. You know, we could just see the Challenger next turn.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would think I would agree. The problem is, you know, the fact that if you play Challenger, you can Village on the Heartfire Hero, leave the Challenger back if you want. There's still a lot of play that Percy has. A lot of good options. When your mono red player has a lot of good options against your mid-range deck, you feel quite bad.
Yeah, for sure. Board's already looking great. Utility land's doing their job.
Yeah. Lynx was named, so that is a 6-drop. Still looking good if we can eventually get there. And now let's see what the play is. One play Percy has that I wouldn't love is get the Challenger down, give it the boost with the Village, get in with that. Not great. Don't want to give away those resources. But if you can Village here, looks like cut down. If there's another Monstrous Rage.
Don't even say it, Corey.
Okay,
Don't even
okay.
say it.
I was going to say, shield your children's eyes.
Now, that was more calculated, right? Because Gavin just saw the hand. And also, there's a lot of value in waiting for the Village activation to waste the mana, too.
Yeah.
So that was a very, very reasonable risk.
We had to have just drawn that recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we had the damage from the hero, and that allowed this Hired Claw to get boosted up instead of playing the Emberheart Challenger. That's interesting, but easily could be totally correct.
Yeah.
Now this Claw can attack into the Peacekeeper next turn.
Correct, yeah. Valuing the ability to attack next turn over having a Challenger in play with the ability to possibly Village it and get more cards. Does expose the Challenger also, though.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's big boom boom time.
Whew. Archfiend coming down. That's a gigantic creature. And, you know, amazing card. Not taking anything away from it by any means, but man, when you're really behind on the battlefield, the clause of this card where you can lose the game is real. It is totally real. Like, you want to be somewhat aggressive. You want to not be in complete defensive mode as, you know, Percy at some point could just be like, okay, go.
Yeah,
like, are you going to attack with it or are you going to block with it or just die with it? You know, these are your choices.
Attention, please.
Either way, this does shut down the attacks of Percy pretty much full stop.
Yeah, if Gavin has a good follow-up here of another big creature. Okay.
As I was saying, this doesn't shut down the combo or the combat full stop at all.
Okay, let's get busy, Percy.
So it's got to be Rage or what?
Yeah, I mean, Rage. I mean, we could just see, you know, kind of Burst Lightning team up with the Prowess trigger on the. No, it's not enough. It's only 5. But the 6 is the big number here. If you're a red player, you got to count to 6.
Sorcery only. We were double checking that. 2 cards in hand. One of them is the Lynx.
Yeah, I mean, Rage, I guess.
It has to be Rage, right?
A Witchstalker's Frenzy, like, combo. That seems pretty bad also. Trading a Frenzy and a creature for the 6/6.
That does feel bad.
Wow.
Okay.
Love it. I love the squeeze.
I love it, too.
Am I a sick person, Corey?
Yes, yes.
Well, besides the obvious.
Oh.
I just really enjoy the face cams, and love watching the players squirm.
Yeah.
You know, like, big pressure moment, this attack comes in, you know, what's Percy going for here? You know, I think Rage is reasonable. It does seem like the logical choice.
It has to be the
know?
only thing.
Right. Now,
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Oh, my God. That is just so good for Percy. Being able to play something off this, too.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. And like we were saying, the Lynx is still there.
Yeah.
It costs 6. We're 1 land off that, too.
Oh, man. I mean, here's the choice. Does Percy want to level up the Claw or play the Manifold Mouse? I'm playing that mouse.
It's got to be another creature, yeah.
Yeah. Here is the trade. A 2-for-1. A solid exchange, honestly, for Gavin. And an amazing draw there from Percy. Percy has drawn some nice ones off the top. Here's Manifold Mouse. The last card we know is the cat that is a little bit more expensive. So if this Peacekeeper ever dies or we draw land 6, I mean, the game's basically over if Gavin plays a land, a non-basic.
Yeah, basic swamp, you know, looking like it's not too shabby here. You know, these dual lands are great. Splashing colors is great. There are certain benefits to playing white this mono black deck, but this is definitely the big downside.
Yep. Big things here. Gavin well and truly up against it here, and I hate to go back to the cut down, but that changed the game. You know, that you'd have a lot more life on hand. This is going to be something that we could look back on. That is a brutal moment. That's non-basic number 4, though. Okay. Legion can deal with one of these cards. You basically have to hit the Manifold Mouse. So a land off the top is lethal for Percy.
There are so many hits.
So many lethal cards here. But a Mountain gets it done straight away. Monstrous Rage gets it done. Burst Lightning close. Doesn't get it fully done. But even just this Hired Claw attack, you're forcing a chump block.
Any haste creature, any removal spell.
Yeah.
Attacks are so great. Ooh.
That's the one play I actually don't like.
This is cute, actually. So the ping from the Higher Claw puts Gavin
forces the Soul Sanctuary block,
right.
I guess. Yeah.
It forces a trade with the Soul Stone and the Sanctuary, and it stinks to lose the land when you have a 6-mana Lynx. But when you have a 4-mana Lynx, not too bad.
And now that's true because Gavin loses no matter what if you either draw a removal spell for the Claw or some way to gain life from the cat. The cast costs 4, and that is it. That is it. Percy Fang takes this down, takes down the #1 seed in impressive fashion with mono red. Just beat Zachary Keeney to make it to the top 8.